Hey Chris, what's the plan for today?
We'll start with Bloodsport, and then this Nintendo game we rented, and then lunch.
So I hear there's a new burger and steak place that delivers.
It's probably expensive. My mom left me $7. What did your mom give you?
Let me see here. $0.
Okay. Well, we could make grilled peanut butter sandwiches in our Ron Popeil sandwich maker.
Didn't we almost electrocute ourselves last time we tried that?
Yeah. Well, there's pizza.
Yeah, but we had that yesterday, and the day before that, and the week before that. Really, all summer, and most of last summer too.
So pizza?
Sounds great.
Two middle-aged guys try to work it all out. Two middle-aged guys try to work it all out. Two middle-aged guys try to work it all out.
Welcome, everyone, to this episode of Two Middle-Aged Guys Trying to Work It All Out. I'm Chris, and as always, with me is my good friend...
Dave.
Yes, Dave, welcome. Today is a day of memories, Dave. We are remembering things from our past. Hopefully, that's not bringing up trauma or bad memories, but I think it will share some of the fun times that we've had with our listeners. But before we get into those memories and those pastimes, I understand that you have a story of a memory of your own.
Well, yes. First of all, I think that one of the memories I'm experiencing right now is hunger. Talking about pizza every day. That sounds wonderful. But do you recall, I won't say memory, we've said that so many times, it's one of those things where you start to say the word so many times, it sounds meaningless. Do you recall, some time back, I told a story, and I believe this is when Larry and Anthony were with us, about how I was banned from a local Bose outlet store
Yes.
because I had too many returns.
I do remember that story.
Oh, good times. Well, I want to announce that I have now been banned from purchasing from an online store.
Okay.
Certainly a first time for me. Obviously I've been banned for, physically. My picture, it was at the Bose headquarters. Don't sell to this guy. He'll just return it. But now I've been banned from a specific seller on Temu will no longer sell to me. For those of you that don't know Temu, T-E-M-U, it's basically the shopification, the gamification of shopping. It's like an AliExpress or like TikTok shops, if you ever do that. It's super inexpensive stuff you could buy from overseas that makes shopping fun, and you buy the stuff and you get it's crappy and you get cluttered, you throw it away, but you get that little dopamine hit, the endorphins from buying stuff. Have you ever bought anything from Temu?
No, I tried, and I found the app to be so difficult with all of the pop-up messages.
Oh, yeah.
That I just gave up. I was like, forget it. I don't need this tchotchke that bad.
You are always winning a contest. You're always getting a coupon pack where you're getting $100 worth of free items, and none of it's ever real. But yes, it's a rough app, and they made that decision to do that on purpose, right? I don't think it's just a incompetent design. I think that they're trying to. It's an intentional experience. Very weird. Well, I buy stuff from there, probably more than I should. Pretty often, I'd say every 2 weeks, I've got a package coming in with some stuff from Temu, and I was like, oh, here we go. And I would say, and this is not an exaggeration, of the 50 things I've ordered from Temu over the course of the last couple of years, I have probably kept 5. So my hit rate is very poor. I've bought some video games from there, and you get some decent deals. If you don't mind buying, like, say, Switch games that are the European or the Hong Kong edition, you'll save 20%, maybe even a little bit more. And Switch games are region-free. Switch 1, the original Switch. So it's not a big deal, right? As long as it supports the English language, you're good. You buy the Japanese or the Hong Kong edition, EU, you have the same experience. So I have bought some games, and I've recently ordered a few from a seller, and I would order them, and I realized, it was getting canceled. And it wasn't a big deal. You order one, and the order got canceled. There's been an issue with your order. Oh, they probably ran out. I would order another one. After several times of going through this, I recognized that the last 10 times I had attempted to buy a game, and it was all from this one seller, it got canceled before it shipped. And it dawned on me as I was buying other stuff, right? Oh, something's going on. So I reached out to the seller and said, "Hey, seller, everything I order gets canceled. Can you help me out? I'd like to buy from you. You have a good selection. You have good prices." What they sent back was, "You are no longer allowed to buy from our shop. Don't want you to order." That was the sentence. Don't want you to order. Like, well, why not? You have returned too many things and we have lost money on you, and therefore we don't want you to order. And I had returned one item, and I had a complaint about another item and got a partial refund. And that to them was me returning too many things. And I am no longer allowed to order from this specific seller. I'm not going to say who they are because I don't want to, I'm not being vindictive. I think it's hilarious. And they won't let me order. And they are, without a doubt, of the Switch game retailers, they're the number one on Temu. They've got everything. They have the best prices. And so I'm locked out of this seller. And I have been begging them, and it kind of became a joke, but to let me back in. And the answer is no, you got to go somewhere else. I'd be like, please, you have all the best games. You have all the Marios, all the Zeldas, all the hits. I think that's an exact quote. Please let me buy from you. No. And they always respond. They're not ignoring me. They're not blocking me, but they keep consistently telling me, no. I have never heard of anyone being banned from an online store. I'm not sure I had heard of anyone being banned from a physical store until I told that story. I wanted to tell that to our listeners. Hey, if you return too much to Temu,
which apparently means 1.5 items.
1.5 items out of an attempted total 12, 13 orders. So you don't have to do much with this particular seller to get on the naughty list. I don't know. I obviously they have some sort of method to determine where their break-even point is, and I would think that they would build in returns because it's really easy to return things. I don't know. Very funny. I wanted to share that. And maybe also give a little public service announcement about, buying international games for the Switch. As long as it supports the English language, you're in good shape.
All right. Well, I'm sorry that you got banned. I'm looking forward to the next banned story that we get on the podcast. I can't imagine where it will come from, but that's really exciting.
Yeah, I will try. I will do my best to live up to your expectations. I'll get banned for something really, really incredible. Probably something on AliExpress. I've bought a handful of things on AliExpress, and I haven't had the best luck. So
you should see if the same seller is on AliExpress.
Ooh, that's a great idea. I will go check it out. One thing about Temu is all the silliness with the coupons and all that, and that sort of high pressure turn shopping into a game. There are some decent coupons out there, so that is why I like it. Like their return policies are really liberal. And a lot of the time, if it's a low enough value item and the shipping is going to be a hassle, you don't have to ask for it. They'll just say, keep the item, donate it, throw it away, and we'll just give you the refund. Makes it really simple.
Well, very good. Well, before we get into the topic today, I do have one listener mail that I wanted to share. And this poor guy wrote in a while ago, and he's been waiting for us to come up and to read the message. So finally we're getting around to it. This was a message we received over on Facebook, and it was on our middle-aged health episode. So I don't know if you saw this comment, Dave, but
I did not.
But, yeah, it was a good one. I won't use his full name, but his name is Chris, and I want to make this abundantly clear that this is not me masking as a user. This is a legitimate other Chris. There are other Chris's in the world. So
pretty unique name.
Yes. Chris posted on our Facebook, and he says, longtime listener, first-time commenter. This was a subject close to my heart, the health episode. Quite literally. Good joke. Consider this unsolicited advice or just another middle-aged guy's testimonial. I entered my 50s morbidly obese. I was pushing 3 bills, and my hypertension made me feel like I was constantly chewing tinfoil. I wanted to live to see my grandkids, and I began dieting on my 51st birthday and eventually got down to 268 by the end of that year, but I knew I had to do more, so I started running. Today, I'm 130 pounds lighter than I was in my 40s. I'm in the best shape of my life at an age when most men are finding that they have a favorite recliner. It is never too late to get in shape, and believe me, anyone can do it. So I think that's a great listener comment. I'm grateful to Chris for posting that. I am honestly looking forward to the time in my life when I get to have a favorite recliner. I'm not sure that was the message he wanted me to take from that post, but
I want to lay down right now. First of all, Chris, stop bragging. 130 pounds, hanging over our head. Come on, man. We're doing our best here.
I say congratulations.
It's an incredible. That's a lot of weight to lose without having most of your stomach removed. I mean, it really is. That is Chris, outstanding. Way to demonstrate willpower, self-control. You're doing it for the right reasons. You should be very proud. What an accomplishment. And thanks for listening and responding to the health episode too. We really wanted, glad to hear it. It resonated. We talk about movies, we talk about games, we talk about music, right? The more serious stuff. We like your help in knowing whether or not that works.
Yeah. I do think that messages like that are inspirations to people. So thanks for sharing it to anyone who's looking on our Facebook page,
Absolutely.
not just us. So good deal. And Chris remembers being out of shape in those days. Let's talk about what you and I remember from days long past.
Memory's a funny thing, isn't it? Right? I mean, my memory is not great. On some things, it's really good. It's always funny to me what I can remember and what I get mixed up and what I just completely forget about to the point where I might actually have been in denial about those things happening. But this is I thought this could be a fun opportunity for you and I to bring up some memories that we shared together to see, first of all, do we both remember them? Do we remember them in the same way? Did these things that might have had an impact on me or on you, did it have an impact on the other in a similar way? Or was it just another day, another moment? So we thought it'd be kind of fun just to take a little look back. And hey, based on the thumbnail, we've both got some ideas, and I'm thinking real hard about it, and you're sweating profusely, Chris. You may be going through some sort of drug withdrawal. I don't know.
I'm nervous. All of my memories that I prepped for this involve injuries, which I felt kind of bad about after I'd put that together. But I think they'll be fun stories, so I'm gonna go with it.
All right, you and I, we both have got our own little memories we're gonna bring, but I thought we could talk about a shared memory, and that is about pizza. Because you and I did eat a lot of pizza in the summers together. Do you recall where we would get, on a very frequent basis, darn near every day, certainly 3 times a week?
Yes.
The specifics of where we got that pizza from, the little local pizza place. Tell me about it. What do you remember?
It was called Pizza Fast. And it was...
Which doesn't mean you're not eating pizza, right?
No,
I mean,
that's
I'm
true.
going on a pizza fast.
That maybe was not the best name for a restaurant, but I hadn't put that together. No, the implication was they would give you pizza quickly. I think that's what they were trying to
Threw it right
express.
in your face.
Yeah.
Hot, steaming pizza. Sometimes they wouldn't cook it, though. That's how fast they would go, and it would be cold.
Yeah. It was a pizza restaurant that was pretty close to my house. It was in a little strip mall, if memory
That's right.
is accurate.
Strip mall's still there.
Yes, it is. Pizza Fast, sadly, is not still there. And I remember an abundance of sausage pizza. Was that right? We would always get sausage, or did we mix it up?
I typically... sausage was definitely on the list. I've always have been a pepperoni fella. So I know we also got pepperoni regularly. The deal was $5.99 for 2 medium one toppings.
Which was unheard of.
Unheard of, right? Even frozen pizza is going to cost that price back then, right? A good frozen pizza was $2.50. Absolutely. Your grandma would take us up there. We'd get our 2 pizzas. We would go back. We'd watch Bloodsport and/or Kickboxer and enjoy our treat. Sausage on the list. Pepperoni, absolutely 100%. And occasionally mushrooms, which I do have a note that they didn't drain their mushrooms well, though. I don't know if you remember that. And the pizza was watery if you got mushrooms.
I don't remember that.
So it wasn't a very often thing because it would typically the pie didn't turn out great when we did that. So, but yeah, oh man, we ate a lot of fast pizza, and I remember it being good. It was a hand tossed crust. It wasn't. It didn't cheap out by being too thin. It was well cooked in like a pizza oven, the kind that, if I recall correctly, you put it in one end and the rack will pull it through like an electric oven, and it was a.
And it was a very open restaurant, so you could see the whole process of like the pizza going through.
Yeah,
and
kind of like a Little Caesars. If today, if you go into Little Caesars, you walk in, you got the front desk, the counter, you see in the back. It's kind of like that.
I remember it being a lot cleaner than Little Caesars.
Maybe. I guess our Little Caesars here is pretty darn clean, so I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, we'd call. Yeah, hey, we $5.99 won this and won that. We'll be there in 10 minutes. It would take us by the time we drove over there. It was it was fast. It dawned on him one day. We could call it that. Pizza quick was another option. But yeah, we would go. We would eat this all the time. Speaking of health, probably not the best start as 13-year-olds.
Probably not. But
medium pizza every day.
I cannot express how affordable this was.
It was.
And I don't know if you have this perception, but we were a very middle class family, and pizza out was a big deal. Like even as a kid, like my parents were like, "Oh, we're gonna get Pizza Hut tonight," or whatever. Yep. And I was even thinking as a kid, I was like, "Can we afford that?" Like, I don't know if that's a good idea, Mom and Dad. Like I had this perception that pizza was this incredibly expensive mythical thing. And so then we discovered Pizza Fast, and we went in there for the first time. It was like 2 for $5.99. I was like, wait, is that accurate? Is there something wrong with your sign? Like it blew my mind. And so that combined with the fact that who doesn't love pizza, it was just like, that's where we went all the time.
Yep. It was affordable, even for those of very modest means like us. And it was really good. I can recall the flavor. They put a generous amount of sauce and cheese. They didn't cheap out. The crust, like I said, not too thin, but also not over the board. Over the top, thick. It had a nice chew to it. For inexpensive pizza, it was a class act, and always looked forward to it, and really enjoyed it.
I miss it to this day.
I do too. We also at around the same time would get the Pizza Hut Bigfoot. You've got to remember the Bigfoot.
Yes, I do remember the Bigfoot. Absolutely.
Unique pizza. Now that one we did get sausage on. We would get like one half with like sausage and onion and pepperoni, and the other half, I don't know, but we did get that. It was a big square pizza. You guys can Google the Bigfoot, look at it from the early 90s, and you'll be like, oh, okay, it's one of those big square pizzas. It had kind of like a paper wrapping around the box, and you could tear open the top. I remember the way that tasted too. And it had its own sauce, it had the Bigfoot sauce. It was a little orange.
Yeah, it was unique. It wasn't like Pizza Hut's other pizza.
It was not.
It was very different.
Yeah, the square form factor. Wasn't using the term form factor a lot when describing pizza back then. But yeah, it was a little bit more expensive. I think it was like $13 or $14. But that was a treat. That was a high class pizza purchase. But I remember that fondly too. We ate a lot of pizza. over those summers.
Well, I mean, it's healthy, right? It's got all your food groups, and pizza's good for you.
The vitamin grease, vitamin G.
Yeah, the Pizza Fest memory, man. I like that one a lot. Yeah, that's.
I'm
good
trying
stuff.
to remember when that place closed. Like,
I feel like it wasn't around very long. Like maybe 1 or 2
yeah,
summers.
I think we got two summers out of it, and then
Yeah.
he realized
We probably
he was
put them out of
losing
business.
$4 on every pizza was not a winning strategy, and yeah.
He's like, those 2 kids are going to show up again.
They
and take
keep
my
ordering
pizza.
the stuff I put on my menu, and it was a daily special. That wasn't like with a coupon. That was
No,
just
yeah.
That was just
That's
the price.
what it was.
And maybe I would joke and say he was just doing that for us. Maybe he was some sort of weird creeper. No, that was the price for everybody.
Well, and when we discovered it, I was so excited, and I was like, "Mom and Dad, we can get pizza all the time now." And so we got pizza from there one time, and my parents were like, "This is terrible.
Right.
We don't like this at all."
It's funny because we would not, as a kid, I don't remember us doing this we did occasionally do it for like dinner, even though it was way cheaper than everything else. And I don't know why we didn't order it more often. But you and I for lunch, that was an absolute staple. And drink some Dr. Peppers from the fridge and or Cokes, and we were good.
Simpler times. I miss it.
All right, so that's our shared memory. We both, I think we were pretty much in sync on that. So you and I, we wanted to, we'll bounce ideas off of each other to see if we can remember things. Do you mind if I'm going to roll into mine?
Roll.
Do you remember a couple of more sort of kind of serious things? Do you remember when we were kicked out? Speaking of getting kicked out, I'm just connecting dots. When we were kicked out of the Gold Exchange pawn shop for trading video games. Do you remember this bizarreness?
Remember. And to this day, I feel like that was not justified.
I'm like a little bit nervous. Like, did I do something wrong just talking about it right now? So let's explain this. Why don't you explain this to our listeners? What the heck we're talking about? See if you and I are synced up.
Okay, so Pawn Shop had used Nintendo games.
Gold Exchange.
And that's what...
A specific pawn shop brand in our area.
And I think they're gone, right? Like, they don't exist anymore.
I don't frequent pawn shops anymore, but I think so. I think they're gone. You're right.
All right, so they had used Nintendo games, which is why we were interested in them. And they had a deal where any 2 Nintendo games you could take in and trade for one of theirs. And they did not care what it was, right? Like
It's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Like 2 Black Label cards could be traded for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade game. Like they were fine with that. They didn't care. So that was one of our big haunts, whenever we would get 2 games. And the great thing about that is we knew that was the way they operated. So if we found a cheap Nintendo game, even if we weren't interested in it, we were like, oh, this is halfway to a game I really want. So we would...
That's your trade stock.
Exactly right. Yeah. And if I remembering the story correctly, we went to the Gold Exchange one day with our wares, and it wasn't like we were trying to work the system. Nope. It wasn't like, oh, I've got 2 Mario Duck Hunts here. Why don't you give me? It was just like, here are the games, and we want to trade. And they were just like, absolutely not. Get out of our store.
And it was a guy, right? So Gold Exchange, the pawn shop, you go in there. Right? I'm trying to. I want to paint a picture for our listeners, but this is a guy we had dealt with before, and he was always cool to us. Hey guys, what's up? Yeah, and he would talk to us about Nintendo games. I think he was he played games, right? He was an adult, probably in his 30s. But one thing that's striking about this place is the employees were always packing heat. Right? Like, it wasn't, like, concealed or anything. It was, like, a shoulder holster in, like, a white T-shirt, and he's just out there. And it made you, as a kid, it made me nervous. I wasn't, like, around guns. Then I wasn't. Now I'm not. And it's like, oh, man, this is, like, I hope a gunfight doesn't break out, like Reservoir Dogs, and he's, like, double gunning and dual wielding and taking out a would-be burglar. But this was a guy that we dealt with on multiple occasions, and he was always cool. And something happened, and we went in there, and he's like, get out of my store. You guys can't be in here. I can't do business with you. Don't even talk to me about it. And it was weird. Like,
Yeah, it
super
was.
duper weird. We would attempt to go in multiple times. I remember even one time your mom came in thinking that we needed an adult, and he wouldn't even, he's like, no, I can't even deal with you guys. Do you remember that?
Vaguely. And I remember going in twice. Like I tried it. The first incident happened, and then I tried it again. And then after that, I feel like I was like, I'm done.
out.
Because
Yep.
it was intimidating, right? And so I don't remember like trying multiple times. And so the memory of my mom coming in is really hazy. So I don't know. I don't have quite a lot to say about that. But I was ready to just call it and be like, oh, it was great while it lasted, and let's move on pretty early.
It was like a switch flipped for this fella, and he went from being super friendly to downright mean. And
Yeah.
All I could think of now as an adult reflecting back on it, first of all, you go to GameStop and you trade and everything, you got to show an ID. Theft is a thing, right? Maybe they got busted for receiving stolen property. That might have been a thing. If that's the case, then I don't know why it would be a big deal to have adults come and do it. Also, I mean, we were 12, 13 years old. We weren't breaking into people's houses and stealing things. We're not we weren't your typical risk vectors for stolen property.
And we weren't pushing like tons of product
No.
either. It's not like we're in here with 50 games. It wasn't that at all. It was just like, maybe monthly we would show up because we'd have something that we wanted to trade.
Right. So that didn't make sense. The other thing is I'll say this, delicately, this is a place that rented adult movies, and maybe they just had made a decision at the management level to not have minors in the store at all. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was so bizarre and out of the blue. Like, he went from being our buddy at the pawn shop with a gun to being our enemy at the pawn shop. Get out of my store, you weird little kids. Don't you try to trade Nintendo games. But they were still trading Nintendo games at the time when most of the people playing Nintendo were our age, right? I don't know. Very strange situation.
I don't know either.
Made me uncomfortable. I distrust armed pawn shop brokers. Lifelong distrust. I can't ever have that level of confidence that I'll be accepted by them that I used to.
Wow. They broke you then.
Right then. Yeah, it was single tier. Get out of my as I'm shedding it.
Yeah, I remember that.
Well, I figured you and I would be. That was a pretty formative and hilarious moment.
Yeah. Well, I suspect that you will remember my first one because it ties to something that's just unforgettable, which is we had an obsession with the film Highlander.
Absolutely.
To the point where we got swords.
Yes.
And I don't mean play swords. I don't mean practice swords. I don't mean
we had those
dull
too.
aluminum. We did. I mean, we both had legitimate katanas that were sharp, that were stainless steel, that could do damage. And my parents let me have mine. I had to save my allowance for it. I had to get it. Of course, they had to be the one to procure it for me with the money that I had saved. And the stipulation was, you can have this. You are not allowed to sword fight Dave.
Yeah, of course. And we were going to abide by that. Why else would we have swords?
So, of course, we, absolutely, we're not going to fight each other. Well, fast forward to a time where we've watched Highlander for the 27th time that day.
Yes.
And we're like, we've got to fight with the swords that we have because that's why we have them. There is nothing else to do. And so we were in the living room of my home. My parents were at work. We were there by ourselves, sword fighting with legitimate real katanas. And we weren't like trying to kill each other. I mean, we were reenacting the movie. We were just like clinging them together and we were like, how come ours don't spark like they do?
Running electricity through my body, floating up, the quickening.
Right. Yeah. It was very accurate to the film. Is what we were doing. But even though we were not seriously trying to hurt each other or seriously combating, we were just banging swords around, somehow or another, we slipped and you stabbed my finger with the sword.
Yes.
Do you remember this?
Absolutely. And it was a good cut. You probably needed stitches.
Probably. I did not get them. I just held the finger under the faucet, which I don't think you're supposed to do for an open bleeding wound. But I just ran to the kitchen and stuck my hand under a flowing faucet of water. I think you were kind enough to find me a Band-Aid, after I was like, it's that drawer over there, Dave, go. And, you dug a Band-Aid out for me and I held a paper towel against my finger for a while. I got the bleeding to stop, put the Band-Aid on it. And I still have the scar today. You can see the entrance wound and the exit wound on my finger to this day from that sword. So that was my first memory of an injury that you and I sustained. I sustained, but you were there. I mean, it was a joint adventure.
I was I was pretty sure, and we should have that. We were going to get the swords taken away permanently. Did we? No, we did not get them permanently. Mm-hmm. Although I think that the restrictions around when we could have them out were probably pretty strict from that point forward.
Yeah, I don't remember my parents' reaction to that because I played it off like, oh, I cut my finger. No big deal. No, it's fine. It's good. I'm not even sure I told them at that time that it was from the sword.
Right. I'm sure they couldn't have connected those dots. Were you shaving?
Were
you shaving your finger? No. Oh.
Yeah. Well, and it went through.
It's a mystery.
No. But this is not the first time they're hearing the story. I've told them the story before.
I assume.
But yeah.
They knew.
But at the time, I was like, no, it's cool. It's fine. And the sword was put up. And I do not remember what happened to my sword. Like, I wish I still had it. But
I do. Not. I know what happened to it.
What happened to it?
Okay, so we both had swords. We had the same sword. We bought it, I believe, from Soldier of Fortune magazine or one of those magazines, right? I think
U.S. Cavalry.
U.S. Cavalry. That's it. Yeah. And it was black katana, stainless steel, sharp edge. And so I had the exact same sword. Mine I used to cut some limbs in the backyard because I was like, there's nothing you can do with this. I wanted to actually use it, so I damaged mine up and then I did some trading for yours and got yours. And I traded them both in at a local place that sold swords in our little town of Springfield, Missouri. Springfield Armory, I believe. No, it's not Springfield Armory. There was a place in our area that had the sword that sold swords. They sold knives. I can't remember what it was called. Springfield Armory, I believe, is the name of a gun manufacturer.
So,
yeah. But it was in our downtown area. We went up there and I sold it. I think I sold the one that was beat up for like 20 and the one that was in good shape for like 40. Got some cash. That might have funded, like, I don't know, the TurboGrafx. I don't remember all the timing, but I do remember that I got yours in a deal and then turned around and sold it because it was kind of useless. I mean, really.
Oh, yeah.
It was cool in the moment.
Right.
Like, and then when you realize it's too dangerous to do anything that's really cool.
Yeah.
Kind of lost its luster.
I did remember you taking yours to a tree.
Oh, yeah. Yep, I did. Not out of anger, right? It wasn't like I was being destructive. I wanted to use it for something. We had some limbs, and I took it, and I cut the limbs up.
I feel like your mom was like, go clear out the limbs. And then you were like, well, this is the tool for the job.
I think that I did, right? Because I just wanted to use the darn thing. And now thinking about where I am as an adult, the sort of injuries I've sustained with dangerous objects. Certainly the finger cut you have is bad. Not the worst thing between the two of us that we've experienced. I had no business with, like, I don't know. I mean, a butter knife. I could have seriously injured myself.
There are several stories where it's a small miracle that we're alive.
Yes,
today.
and I'm by far the more clumsy, least coordinated of the two. Not that you're pretty clumsy and you're just not super coordinated,
fair.
but I'm at a whole other level. And everybody in my family knows that. Like, I go to the grocery store. If I'm trying to hold 2 or 3 things, I'm dropping one of them constantly. I trip over my own feet. I'm a walking disaster. And I had no business with a sword of any kind. One of the aluminum dull edged ones would have been much more acceptable. But no, we actually had the 420, 440, whatever it was, stainless steel.
Yeah.
Hack your own arm off blades.
But it was a good memory, that's for sure.
Yep. I'm glad that you brought up where they went, because I wasn't thinking about that. But yeah, that's where they ended up. Wheeling dealing.
We did a lot of that growing up.
Yeah. And I'm trying to do that as an adult. Like, I do some video game trading and Facebook trading. It just makes you come off like a weird, desperate loser as an adult doing that. And I don't have fun with it. And what I found is that I'll get into it with people who start to make the deal. And a lot of times I'll end up just giving them a great deal just because, I appreciate you indulging me in the idea of a trade. Let's just, here you go, man. I'll give you a good deal just for letting me experience that for a minute.
As a kid, there was a greater badge of honor to that kind of thing than there is now.
Right. As an adult, it just makes you, I don't know, feel like the next hobby I'm going to take up is going to be like metal detecting or something. Like there's a progression,
Yeah.
That's really cool that it did end up with us selling it to a sword man. I remember when we sold it to the place, he said, "I'm getting a reputation as the Sword Meister of Springburg," which we live in Springfield, that he called it Springburg. Not something that I recommend. Don't make up a name like that for your town. And Swordmeister, this was an older guy. He was in his 40s.
Yeah.
It was I was like, okay, yeah. I want the $20. That's a weird statement. My dad came with us, I believe, when we traded it. When there was a really potentially embarrassing situation, my dad could be counted on. He was like a rock. He would go in and be oblivious to whatever nonsense we were up to. And probably was like, you guys had swords? We were in there trading. He's like, wait, you guys have swords? It's probably what my dad's thinking. Where did my 12-year-old get a sword? Why does his friend have one?
That sounds about right. Yeah, that checks.
Yeah. So my dad could be relied upon to do these sort of otherwise embarrassing things with us. So yeah, wow.
Yeah.
What a fun time. Well, I'm going to give you a memory that decidedly less fun, and I want to see how you remember. I'm really curious. Because this was a formative, important moment for me. It set the tone, things leading up to this and things after that for the rest of my life. Do you remember when I had to give up baseball?
Yeah, I do. I think about it often.
Oh, I don't want you to do that. Please stop.
Well, I'm sorry, I do. And my kids have heard the story, and my wife has heard the story several times. Of strangers on the street, I just pull them over. I say, "Hey, have you got 10 minutes? Let me tell you a story." I remember that because it was in a way, I gave up baseball then too, and I didn't have the encouragement, I guess, to pursue it after that. But we would play baseball, and it was not organized. It was like neighborhood.
Oh, you
teams.
bet. Just whoever we could get together, 4-on-4 baseball. More fun than it sounds. It really is.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I have never been a sports guy. I've never enjoyed watching sports on TV, but I absolutely loved playing baseball. I mean, it was a great time. And I always pitched. I wasn't particularly great, but I was probably the best of the 4 kids we could get together. So I would always pitch, and we would just just play, from the point that we could get a crew together till the point where the sun was going down, and it was like those street lights are about to come on. Just like I'm sure that people have heard individuals of our age telling that story, and it was absolutely true. If you weren't on your porch when that street light came on, it was going to be serious. So that's what we did. And just during the summer, anytime the weather was good, we were out there and we were playing.
And we would play in your backyard and in my side yard.
Yeah, we would. And I had one of those, I don't know what you call them, but like the nets that you can practice pitching on.
You would throw the ball into the net and it would come right back to you. You didn't need a catcher.
So we would, if we didn't have a game that we could get together, then we were out there with that, or we were hitting balls or whatever. And you had that big side yard to your house, and my house had a backyard that just extended forever.
Yes.
So we had a lot of room where we could do that as kids, which I count as a real blessing.
Yep.
I mean, that we had those kinds of areas that we could play with. And then we were within walking distance to a park if we needed to go someplace that was bigger, and actually had a very rundown ball field, but you could still see where the bases were. And
Nichols Park, my wife, just as an aside, we don't live anywhere near that park now. We live like in another town over as far away from that as you can get. But that they've made major improvements to Nichols Park, and my wife will take the kids there sometimes because it's got like accessible play areas for handicapped kids. It's an awesome park that they've invested in. And it's really neat to see that. But it's funny when she goes over to our old side of town.
And my parents still live fairly close to it. So I mean, this was a huge part of our lives during this phase. And you can tell the story about why you had to give it up, but there was a medical reason, and we had one day where it was like, this is the last game that we're going to play. And it was, even then I felt the weight of it. And you kind of set up the story with, it was a pivotal moment and an influential moment. And it was for me too. I mean, I haven't had to deal with the physical repercussions the way you have, but I mean, it was a big day in our lives where we kind of just said goodbye to playing baseball. And that's probably when I started putting on weight and then going back to the health episode.
Yep. Sorry, I think it's actually like attempted murder was what I was doing. So for the background for folks that were listening, I was 14, 15, and I'd always had back issues, back pain. My mom, who's passed on, she thought I was making it up for attention. And I remember as a kid, I had to go to counseling because she thought it was made up, that no little kid has back pain. Anyways, I didn't know that. My older sister said, yeah, you were in counseling because they thought it was just a big story. And I do remember my mom saying things like, oh yeah, your back doesn't hurt when my mom was not always very nice to me, but your back doesn't hurt when you're playing a video game or whatever. Well, yeah, that's true. It hurts less when I'm sitting down. I agree. But at some point, my leg basically just kind of went numb, and it didn't work quite right. And when I was 14, 15, after some tests and a newfangled thing called an MRI, they realized, oh, you have a spinal disease, degenerative disc disease, and your spine is starting to, your discs are collapsing and herniating, and you've got degeneration up and down your spine. Turns out the pain was real, and I had to have a surgery at 15, and the surgeon said, you've got to stop things like baseball, bike riding. You can never jump on a trampoline, and you can, most importantly, never get fat. So I did half of the things I was asked to do. I stopped all physical activity. I struggled with the not ever getting fat, but he was very clear. You got to stop these things, and and that meant like the physical activity, sport, baseball that I loved the most, I had to step away from. And it was a really sad thing. I mean, I was in a lot of pain. I was dealing with a lot of stuff. I didn't know what this meant for the rest of my life. I still obviously deal with it today, right? I mean, I'm dealing with spine things. I'm looking at potentially my fifth, spine surgery in the last 5 years. I'm looking at doing that potentially this year. That's, it's still with me. But the idea of losing baseball, it was really hard. And the finality of it, the way my doctor teed it up was, you got to stop doing this. I've often thought that was not handled properly. I think a better way to deal with someone who's going to have to do this at my age, 14, 15, would have been to focus on the physical things I can do instead of, making the list of all the stuff that I couldn't and shouldn't do and barring me from that. I think that we took the wrong route. And I realize now he was a spine surgeon and not a psychologist or psychiatrist. And I remember him saying, I'm not used to working on kids that have these kind of problems, maybe from an accident or from an injury, but nothing congenital, nothing that you're born with. I really don't know how to deal with you on this. So stop doing things like riding bikes. I don't know. I feel like it would have been a healthier thing to have found a way to train up, condition up, and to stay involved in it at some point. Maybe not swinging the bat, but certainly getting to throw the ball and field and all that stuff. I think that there was a way into that, and we missed that opportunity. I also think, and I'm not really joking, I wish I was, but my mom was not always the nicest person. Like I said, she was convinced me for a while that, or she was convinced, I should say, that the pain was in my head until it was a physical, we found the actual physical cause of the problem. I felt like there was a little bit of glee, like, oh, good. My mom was a very strange person, and she liked her kids to be sick, and kind of a, like, what is it, Munchausen by proxy, right? Like, that gave her, us being sick when their kids were ill, kind of gave her some attention. And it was a very weird situation. And so I think it was probably not handled well at all by her. And I think it was a little bit destructive to my, physical activity and lifestyle. But it was a big deal. It was very impactful memory that it's not really, I wouldn't say painful to revisit, but I wish I would have handled it a different way. It's interesting to know that you remember it just as clearly. Thank you, and I'm sorry at the same time, right? There was obviously you're a great friend and it impacted you. It also showed that it was abnormal, right? Most kids, and I'm not saying, listen, I wasn't in a wheelchair. I wasn't, it wasn't that big of a deal, right? I didn't have, a childhood cancer. But it was a kind of a big deal. It's kind of a weird thing to be told, hey, stop running, stop playing.
Yeah.
Kind of a weird thing. And I think we all recognize the, how bizarre it was. I would love to, and someday I probably will, ask your mom, hey, when all that was going on, did you think we had lost our gosh darn minds? And maybe we shouldn't have been talking about, like, go sit in the chair and stop moving. And maybe that was I bet she would have some opinions on that. I would love to actually hear what she has to say. Because she was an adult who I consider in that situation to be reasonable and rational. I'd love to hear what she thought.
Yeah, that would be interesting to get her take on it. But it was kind of in our lives, the first brush with, like, something real.
Yeah.
And like, you watch as many movies and TV shows as we do, then you see, like, the medical dramas and you experience stuff like that, but you're always so far removed from it. You think, well, that happens to other people. And, I mean, everybody's heard that saying a million times in various ways, but that was our moment of, like, we have to deal with something. And I remember you telling me that you had these back issues and you were going to have surgery. And I just could not comprehend it, because it's like, that's what happens to old people. That's not what happens to kids. And so, I remember being sad. I remember being concerned for you. And I remember thinking, well, if we don't get to play baseball anymore, then what can we do? So like to your point of maybe that was the better way to handle it. That was kind of my outlook in life. It was like, well, I guess this means more time for Nintendo.
Yeah, and Bloodsport
or whatever. Yeah, exactly. But I do remember it was never baseball, but I do remember a lot of other athletic activity type things even after that we did, because I remember having the thought of like, I don't know if Dave should be doing that.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't remember that exactly. That is, any idea what those would be? I'm struggling to think what it could be.
We went through a pretty heavy martial arts phase.
Yes.
And even though that's not swinging a bat, there's a lot of...
It should, yeah.
Yeah. So that was specifically, and I guess maybe I'm not as good enough a friend to, at the time, have said, hey, I don't know if you should be doing that. But I do remember the thought crossing my mind.
I would have just done the splits between two objects and showed you, no, I can.
Yeah, you can
totally
do it. Yeah. Because that was the goal.
That was like the life dream. I wanted two things out of life. I wanted to make $30,000 a year, and I wanted to be able to do the splits between two chairs. And that was it. I would have considered myself a fully realized, accomplished individual.
All right. Well, that was a rough one.
It is a little bit, and I would say that looking back on it, probably the most difficult thing in reflection is the understanding that I had been dealing with these back issues or whatever, and my mom was truly convinced that I was making it up, whether I was lying or I was like a mental illness that was getting me to do that for seeking attention, and recognizing that when the moment came that it was uncovered that it was an actual physical problem. I don't recall any of her behaviors towards me changing at all, right? She didn't get more sympathetic. She didn't get more empathetic. And I hadn't pieced everything together, but my older sister kind of explained some things to me. I was like, oh, yeah, that was weird. She really didn't believe me. And when it was proven to be true, it didn't really get better. In fact, I think I became kind of I could get more attention and sympathy from others that she fed off of, but it wasn't a normal mom-son thing. That, I think, is probably more painful to me than the back and spine issues.
Yeah. I could imagine that's more than any 14-year-old should have to deal with, that's for sure. On both counts, the back or the mom issues.
Yep. Well, we do remember that very, very much in line.
Yeah.
Huh. All right.
And honestly, we should have swapped the orders because that should have been the one we end on, because my last memory is not nearly as dramatic.
All right.
But hopefully
Good.
It will be comical. Yes. So the last memory I have, and as I said earlier, it was two injuries, but this time this was you getting injured.
Oh, yes.
So I remember being home over the summer one day. Again, we were alone. My parents were at work, and you were over at the house, and we were hanging out. I don't remember the circumstances, but I remember you wanted to be outside, and I wanted to be inside. And so it was one of the rare times that we were hanging out together that we were doing separate things. So I was in the living room watching a movie. I don't remember what movie. And you were outside on our front porch. And we had a fairly big front porch that was also fairly tall, like maybe 3 feet off the ground, or something like that. And this was, I'm pretty sure, was during our martial arts phase that I alluded to earlier.
And it had a rail that was,
probably another 4 feet high.
Yeah, 4 feet,
maybe.
probably safe.
Yeah. And it was a rail that went all the way around the porch, and there were stairs that took you down to the actual ground. So from my perspective, and this is how I'll tell this story, I'm sitting in my father's big easy chair watching something on TV, and suddenly, out of the corner of my eye, through the screen door, I see you hopping. And I just think to myself, well, that's strange. I wonder why Dave would be hopping. Like, that is not Dave behavior.
Nope.
So I went to the front door and I opened it up and I was like, "Hey, what?" And your leg was just bleeding, like just profusely just bleeding. I don't know how you were still conscious. There was just a tremendous amount of blood. And I'm going to turn it over to you to tell the story of what happened from your perspective.
Oh, so I was on the front porch. It had the railing. And I was going to do like this Jean-Claude Van Damme jump. And I'm not like attributing Jean-Claude Van Damme to it, from where I sit now. At the time, I was like, I'm going to do a Jean-Claude Van Damme jump over the rail. I'm going to kind of vault off of it with my arm and push my body over it. And it's going to be super cool. And I'm going to land on my feet. And because at the bottom, on the other side of the rail, you think about it, it's probably 2 feet off the ground. The railing is 4 feet. So you're about 6 foot over this and then onto the ground, which the ground, I believe, was graveled around.
Yeah, complete gravel.
But with right under that spot, a large rock, like a large, how big? Like the size of like a desk.
Like a tire.
Yeah, a tire. Yeah. It was a good sized rock, sort of flat, but had some texture to it. And so I go over it, my leg catches the railing, and I just flop over it and flop over the rail, and my whole body falls over, and my leg at the shin hits this large rock and just rips it open to the point I have a scar on my leg still from that. That's 5-6 inches long. And it is just, and I'm screaming. It is an incredible amount of pain. It starts swelling immediately. I thought I'd broken my leg because it's bleeding, and
we all thought you
yes.
did. But you're hopping because you're trying to get my attention because you need help.
I'm trying to get your attention. I'm also trying not to put pressure on my leg because it's hurting so much. It's swelling up, bleeding.
So I come out on the front porch and I see you just collapse in a heap after I come out the door. So I help you get up and like the closest I can come to a fireman's carry. I'm trying to bring you into the house. Yeah. And I remember throwing you into the bathtub.
And, here we go.
And grabbing a bottle of hydrogen peroxide.
all over that wound. Yeah, that's what you got to do.
And just dumping the bottle.
Oh, man.
Because I didn't know better. Yeah. I thought that's what you did. So, and that causes, more pain and more freak out.
Yep.
And so I'm like, I don't know. What do you do? Like, I don't know. What do I need? And you were like, call my sister.
My older sister.
Yeah. So I get on the phone. And I had met your sister before, but especially at that age, I was not good on the telephone, like talking to people.
Who is at that age?
Because you're right, exactly, yeah. And so I'm like, oh, I think Dave's hurt.
Yep.
And maybe you should come get him. So your sister shows up and thankfully is an adult and is calm and takes charge of the situation.
She's 12 years older than me, so she's probably 24, 25 at that point.
So she comes over and she rescues you.
Yes.
And was there any follow-up? I don't think there was a hospital visit or stitches or anything.
There was no follow-up. And it looked bad, but it was not. I mean, it looked bad. It looked awful. And it was on the shin, right? Which is,
yes.
There's nothing good comes of a shin injury, right? You can whack your I was in Chicago a couple months ago, and it was ice and snow, and I slipped opening the Uber door. I slipped and whacked my shin with the car door, and it's still like healing, right? It's a terrible place to get hit, and this was up and down the whole shin. Just the skin is completely obliterated, blown off, swollen up, bleeding. Did not go to the hospital. There was no point in it. It wasn't broken, but I mean, it took weeks for it to heal. It was scabbed over forever. I still have a very real scar, especially when I get sun. You can totally see it because that scar doesn't tan right. It was a awful and ridiculous injury. So stupid. I had no business trying to hop over the side of a rail. I'm lucky that I didn't, hit my skull on the rock. And have a CTE or what CTE? CBI, TBI, traumatic brain injury. I went through many letters trying to land on the right one.
Even a couple of CBS procedural shows.
Right. CSI Springfield, which is all about kids jumping over railings and hurting their legs. Railing scene investigation. Man, that was one. I mean, I've had so many stupid injuries, but that was one of the dumbest. I have a couple others that are pretty stupid too, but that I have a distinct memory because that really did.
Yeah.
It really did hurt.
And I probably did not help situations by just dumping hydrogen peroxide.
It's better
on
than alcohol, rubbing alcohol. Imagine what that would have been like. But the peroxide. We thought you're supposed to put peroxide on every cut. I still do that as an adult. I don't know. I don't know if I'm always doing the right thing, but yeah, it's like, let's get some peroxide on that.
Well, those are some of our adventures that we've had in life.
It's interesting. We line up. I was expecting some to go in separate directions, some divergence here, but these were we made some choices that I think were stuck out, and we were very much in line on these.
Yeah, we were. We lived through them, and we're here to tell the story.
Well, we have more stories to tell, and we have told many other stories in the past. So if you like our ruminations on injuries and the mental illness of one of our mothers, specifically mine, and you want to hear more of that, thank you. First of all. Second of all, why? Third of all, I accept that you want to hear more of it. Go check us out. Two Middle-Aged Guys, the numeral 2, twomiddleageguys.com, or on Facebook. Check out the Two Middle-Aged Guys page. We post every couple weeks. Facebook, YouTube, anywhere you can get a podcast, we're going to be there. And we'd love to have you check out our older episodes. Lots of funny stories about me hurting myself. You always many of those. A few of them I haven't even told yet. I'll get around to them. Injuries Part 3. We can I'll dive into some of my favorites that we haven't gotten to yet.
Coming soon to a podcast near you.
Oh, yeah. Well, this was a lot of fun, Chris. I'll remember this episode for many years to come.